You want a podcast? Hey there! Welcome to Flute 360, the podcast that reminds you everything is connected. I'm Dr. Heidi Kay Begay, flutist, educator, creative entrepreneur, and follower of Christ. Here we explore the full circle, the 360 of your life as a musician, because who you are as a person shapes who you are as an artist, and the lessons you learn outside the practice room are just as vital as the hours with your flute in hand. From health and spiritual growth to artistry and career fulfillment, this space is where it all intersects. So come as you are. There's a seat for you at the Flute 360 table. Today's episode is 350, and it's titled Flute Practice Hack. Get off the page and reignite your creativity. Hey there, Flute 360 friend. Thank you so much for clicking play, and I am so giddy excited. Today is episode 350. I'm really trying to let it sink in and wrap my brain around this huge milestone. We are only 10 episodes away from the big 360. Thank you so much for coming along this podcast journey and being in this community with me. Without your presence, your questions, your inspiration, and engagement, this community would not be the same without you. So thank you times a million. Today, we are going to hop into, and I'm going to offer you a little practicing hack for today, and that is to get off the page. Get off the page. Now, it might sound small, but this shift can really transform your practice and your practice routine. So I have a question for you. Are you going through perhaps a tricky run or something musically or technically challenging right now? And you're playing it over and over and over again, expecting new results, but it's just not happening? Yeah, that's literally the definition of insanity from Einstein. Trying to achieve a certain result, but only approaching it from the same method time and time again without changing. So if you want different results, you need to mix it up. So I've obviously been there. Oh my gosh, too many times to count. And I want to give you permission, not that you need it from me, but permission to get off the page. Mix it up. Throw in some practice rhythms, sing and play to really help that challenging musical section come to life and let it click inside your brain. And I bring this up because I, as a flute studio teacher, get to observe these patterns from my clients and students day in and day out. So many times I see my flute students struggle with practicing and ways to practice that I want to offer you this practicing hack today. And what I notice from time to time is that they think practicing has to be done in one air quote right way. Maybe a very particular or almost rigid approach. They don't want to mess up or get it wrong. But how can you get it wrong when you are this creative artist and you know your learning style best, you know what works best for you? So you can start with a simple outline or a framework of a practicing attempt or routine. And if you need to experiment with this variable or that variable, get off the page and see what happens. So here's the thing. One of my mantras in music making and teaching is that the process should be extremely fun. It should be deeply enjoyable, not only for you, but your student and your audience alike. So if you're having a rough time with a certain musical passage, maybe it's time to shake things up. Maybe it's time to, you've got it. Get off the page. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but seriously, don't think that your approach is wrong. Start with the basics. Start with an inspirational idea from a peer or a teacher, but then add in your own creativity mix. That's where the magic happens. So to do this, it can look like a lot of different things. Maybe you can incorporate practice rhythms, or singing and playing, or playing the passage from right to left, backwards, instead of the normal way, left to right. Here's a good example of how this played out in the Flute 360 studio a few weeks ago. So one of my students and we were working through one of the Reignite exercises. I believe it was number 5. That's the one, that has all of those 16th note triplets. It's really flowy and it sounds like water. It's a really beautiful exercise. So every now and then, in every other measure or so, there's a mid to large interval leap in the passage. As I was listening to her play, I was noticing that she was really wanting to grab that upper note. We've all been there time and time again, where we think that we have to work harder and strain more to reach that upper note, when in actuality, the note's right there. One of the examples, this is a rabbit hole ADHD moment, but one of the things that help me with mid to large range interval notes and not grabbing and not making it sound forced is thinking about this perfectly built or perfectly heightened apple tree. Instead of having, this really large apple tree that's maybe feet above arm's reach, where you're really trying to grab this low-hanging fruit and you still can't reach it because it's too high, imagine this apple tree is the perfect height for you, where all you have to do is just simply take your arm, reach out your arm, and that apple, that low-hanging fruit, is directly parallel right in front of you within arm's reach, right there at the touch of your fingers. That's the note. So when you think of that apple being at this perfect height and perfect distance for your build, now it feels effortless. It's right there. You don't have to strain and reach for this super high apple. Anyways, we're focusing on that analogy, focusing on the air, blowing past the notes, through the notes, all that jazz. So I'm going in deeper into her mindset, asking her questions like, how do you practice? How have you been approaching this? Just because that's my job as her teacher, is to ask those curious questions to help her obtain her goal that much faster, quicker, and better. Come to find out, she was telling me, I play and I practice what's on the page. And I said, do you mix it up, and do you play right to left versus left to right, practice rhythms? And she goes, no, I want to do it air quote right. I'm playing what's on the page, the black and white. So it's all there and I don't mess up. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay. But what if you flipped it? What if instead of playing that arpeggio in the 16th note triplets of Reichert number 5 as 1, 3, 5, 1, what if you descended 1, 5, 3, 1? And she goes, I never thought of that before. And I gave her the benefits and perks of approaching it that way. And it wasn't just that one specific example, but it was just this aha moment, this overall aha moment of going, oh, I'm allowed to do that? I can do that? And I'm thinking, and I told her, heck yeah, you can. So that's the inspiration of today's episode, to get off the page. What if you added practice rhythms into the mix? So that way you didn't have to play the printed rhythm the same way over and over again, but you let your tongue and your fingers have this fun little snack on some really enjoyable, quirky practice rhythms. You could approach it and maybe you could apply long, short, long, short, long, or short, long, short, long, short, long. Or what about a fun rhythm from one of my most favorite musicals, and it's called West Side Story. And it's titled America. And for you younger folks, maybe you have not yet seen West Side Story. I highly recommend it. But you can go to YouTube and just get a quick 3-minute video clip of this one particular song from the West Side Story performance. So that way, if you don't have time for the entire musical production, you could check out the 3-minute clip. But this particular performance that I'm thinking about is America, where they're singing, I Want to Live in America, and it has this really fun rhythm that's super catchy. And it goes, I want to live in America. I want to live in America. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so it's super fun. You could apply that to pretty much any repertoire piece that you're working on, exercises, scales, seventh chords, etc. That rhythm is playful and it helps your brain think differently. So when you step away from what's printed on the page and start to explore, you begin to own the passage. You are internalizing the pitches and the rhythms on a deeper level, and your brain, fingers, tongue, your whole music making ability is going to thank you because of it. You start to find new pathways in your body and brain that make the music flow more naturally. And going through this conversation, it actually reminds me of another story. And that is one of the summers during my DMA program, I got the fortunate opportunity to go study in Italy for a few weeks in a summer program. And so in northern Italy, I was getting prepared for a masterclass and a performance coming up. And one of the pieces on my program was the Martinu Flute Sonata. And there are a couple of passages in there at the time that I was kind of getting burned out on. And I was just done. I couldn't look at it anymore. I was so sick of it. And so what I did was, instead of forcing it, instead of beating this horse over and over again with the same stick, I decided to pull up some of Martinu's chamber music that includes flute into the score. And I think the particular Martinu chamber piece that I'm thinking of right now includes flute, cello, and piano. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So anyways, I pivoted. I got off the page. I pulled up some of Martinu's chamber repertoire so that way I could shift. And that tiny shift, studying his other works in his repertoire canon, gave me fresh inspiration. I was still practicing Martinu, but just in a different form. It was really cool to see his rhythms and harmonies and melodies in this chamber piece and how many similarities there were between this trio to his flute sonata that it gave me a burst of inspiration to come back to the original sonata. And when I did, it felt alive again. I felt refreshed, and it was chef's kiss. So that's an example of getting off the page. Getting off the page can even mean switching repertoire for a moment. I also love to practice without my flute in hand. You don't always have to have your flute on your face. What if you were to sing the rhythms, clap the rhythms, sing the different pitches with the piano? You don't have to be perfect or a professional singer to sing your music. I do it all the time. And I know I probably embarrass myself because Lord knows I am not a singer, but it really is fun and it helps to incorporate and to instill and to ingrain these rhythms, pitches, and the music making process from within on a deeper level. And because I talk about diet and health style choices and routines, I'm a huge advocate for finding lessons in different sectors of your life and bringing it into your practice routine. How many times have I asked, are you a chef, an athlete, a gardener, a crocheter? What lessons are you learning from these other sectors of your life? Are you learning about colors and patterns and how the body works? Bring it over here into your music world, and your music will get off the page and thrive that much more because you aren't a one-dimensional human being. You're three-dimensional. You can't compartmentalize your learning. So keep it fresh and get off the page and bring in these different lessons and inspiration pieces into your flute world. So with that being said, you can even find examples outside of the practice room. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes the best inspiration doesn't come from music at all. That same student I mentioned earlier, she happens to also be a content creator too. I asked her, so when you write about topics you've covered before, like organization, lifestyle hacks, etc., how do you keep it fresh? And she said, I find a new angle, maybe a different spin, so it doesn't sound repetitive. And that's exactly my point. You can do the same thing in your practicing too. Think about other creative parts of your life. Do you sew? Are you an athlete? Are you a gardener or a chef? Let's take the chef world as an example. Let's say you're cooking your signature chicken dish and you know the recipe by heart. You don't need a card. You don't need a list when you go to the grocery store. It's all up in your beautiful noggin. But let's say tonight you realize your crowd, the people who are going to consume your amazing dish, they really aren't into ginger. Everything else sounds great, but ginger's not it. So what do? You get off the page. You swap out the ginger for something that fits their taste. Maybe it's, smoked paprika, cayenne. And suddenly, the same dish that you've done before, time and time again, by swapping out that one herb, that one seasoning, the whole dish feels new again. That's another really great example of what I'm talking about here. Apply that same curiosity to your flute practice. Break up the patterns. Try right to left. Maybe fill in the large intervals with a chromatic scale and gradually remove notes until it feels effortless. So as we wrap up this topic and concept for today, just a gentle reminder. You can find a new rhythm. You can find a new practice method, a new joy. And that might be the very thing that helps you finally click with that musical passage you've been struggling with. So I want to leave you with this. You are a creative artist. I know you know this, but just remind yourself, I am a creative artist. You're not in a box, and you have permission to explore, create, to experiment, and to play within your practicing session. Because maybe that magical breakthrough is much closer than you think. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And before we really wrap up, I want to give you 3 picks for the day. I have been dying to share this with y'all because they are my favorites, and now I have an amazing opportunity to do just that and share a way for my picks for the day. Pick number 1 is Tazo's tea and its specific flavor, their wild sweet orange tea. So citrusy and uplifting. It is amazing. Second pick for the day is a board game called Sequence, and it is a new favorite in the Begay household. Eric even approves of it, which is a big deal because getting him to play a game sometimes is like pulling teeth, but he even loves this game. And for lunch, I want to offer you a recipe for a wild-caught sardine salad wrap. Completely delicious and anti-inflammatory, so easy to make, and packed with tons of protein and omega-3s. Without rattling off all the ingredients in the recipe for the lunch wrap, I'm going to go ahead and put the recipe in the show notes below. And by doing this, you'll get all the exact measurements and I won't screw it up. But I love it because not only does it taste very zesty and light and refreshing, it is packed with so many amazing anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, micronutrients, minerals, and all that jazz. So if you are looking for something that's easy to put together and it holds a lot of bang for your buck in terms of health and health nutrients to hit your health goals, sardines is a great food choice. Those picks are amazing. I hope you get to try at least one of them. And I cannot believe November is already we're 2 weeks in. So I would be remiss not to invite you into something that is so special and near and dear to my heart. Before I sign off, I want to personally invite you into the next Flute 360 Accelerator live session, and that is scheduled for Saturday, November 22nd, 2025 at 11 a.m. Central Time. Now, a lot of flutists say, hey, Heidi, I'm on the fence about this. I don't know. I really want to do it, but I just can't make it because life is oh so busy. I totally get it. Me too. But these live sessions are being recorded. So if you want to come in and watch the replay, you still get amazing benefits from watching that content, applying it to your life, implementing, and watching your goals unfold and you reach your goals that much faster, quicker, and better. So don't be dismayed if you can't specifically come into the live session because they are being recorded. This month specifically, we're diving into in our Flute 360 book club, we are diving into the title, The Biology of Trauma by Dr. Amy Apigian, a fascinating read about the mind-body connection for musicians. So when you join our accelerator, depending on what tier you register for, you can get access to all the amazing replays, come into the live session, get access to bonus video content in our Flute 360 library catalog. One of the features that I love the most is the weekly Voxer coaching and accountability group section that we have in this walkie-talkie app. I come in and give you weekly pick-me-ups and coaching tips, see where you are, help my clients with accountability towards their personal, professional, and or musical goals. And it is an extremely supportive community and group where we can grow together. So you definitely want to enroll before the end of the year to lock in your rate as we ramp up toward your 2026 goals. Build that momentum now. Don't wait to January. So build it now because you're going to be so glad that you did. I promise you, your future self is going to thank your past self for investing into your professional and personal goals. Because if you are having a hard time showing up to write that chapter of your book, record your new music podcast, start practicing after a long hiatus away from your instrument, having the right coach in your corner, aka me, having the right coach in your corner can make all the difference in the world, where I can lovingly come alongside you and say, hey, and, friendly nudge you, go, Where are you on that deadline? Where are you with the website? Where are you with? And I can root you on. Because I've been there. I walked in your shoes, and I'm still walking in shoes towards my own goals. So whether it's health, practicing, wellness, your faith, getting to know God better, I'm here for you, friend. I can't wait to see you inside the accelerator. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time. Let's talk about Flute.